The next one is root restriction. And again, the question mark text defines it as a near surface layer that is hard for plant roots and water to penetrate. I don't necessarily have to be out here when it's raining to see if we've got a problem, although it really helps. That's one of the best times to observe this indicator. But instead, I can use a penetrometer, a shovel, a wire flag, or just digging the hole and describing it. And in fact, that's exactly what I just did. And I can tell you that when I was trying to dig this out, I had to work pretty hard, even though the soil was moist. This field was irrigated here just a few months ago, and we had a snowfall here, unusual for Las Cruces, and got a little more moisture in there. And even with the moisture, it was really hard. This is a pretty serious compaction layer. And you can see, based on the structure, describing the layers is an option. It's just massive. There's no structure there at all. It's just been compacted. Okay? Not uncommon for pecan orchards, given the way that they're managed. This one, on the other hand, there's definitely some compaction there, probably some residual compaction from before this garden was planted, but much less so. And of course, under those pine trees, it's pretty soft. It breaks up easily. There just hasn't been anything compacting under there. There's been a lot of organic matter. There's been a lot of biological activity, etc., keeping it going. And you can see that when you look at the roots as well. We've got roots here, a lot of them growing laterally. Some of them are making it down through the layer, but a lot of them are growing laterally because they're having a tough time getting in. Whereas under here, we've got roots growing every which way, and the same here underneath the pine tree. So on the evaluation then, is there a root restricted layer? We'll just answer it for the garden, and we'll say yes. The type of root restricted layer is compaction as opposed to another type of hard pan, something that maybe forms naturally there. And then I've got my different options for measuring it. So in addition to using the shovel itself, I can also use something like a pin flag. Just press it into the soil and see how hard it is here versus out in the pecan orchard. And I can tell you, I can't even get it into the soil out in the pecan orchard. It's pretty easy to press in here. Or I can use a penetrometer. There are a variety of types of penetrometers, some that have a little strain gauge on them. You press in even rate. Another one, this impact penetrometer, where I basically just count the number of hammer drops. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. To get into, it's about 10 centimeters deep there. Okay, so I can use any one of these methods, and certainly if you are trying to evaluate whether you have compaction or not, the best way to evaluate that is to look at it. If you want to measure small changes in compaction over time, penetrometers work really well. They're very precise. And of course, you're going to want to make sure that if you use a penetrometer, always use it at the same moisture content. Penetrometers go in real easy when it's moist, and they're a lot harder when it's dry. So typically we just try to get out there when the soil is completely dry if we're going to use a penetrometer, because that's the easiest way to standardize it. The other way is, if you've done an infiltration test, the soil is fully saturated, you can use the penetrometer then. So our next option then is, we've got an other option, that's the middle tab, and then finally the description. So basically the depth to the top of the layer, the thickness, the level of development, and the extent. So for the depth to the top of the layer, let's just go ahead and use this example from the pecan orchard. So the compaction layer actually starts, in this case, right at the soil surface. If that field had been plowed, we might find we've got a plow pan, and in fact I wouldn't be surprised if we do have another compaction layer deeper down from when it's been subsoiled in the past. But let's just for now look at this surface compaction layer. So the depth of the layer would actually be 0. It starts right at the top. The thickness, well, it starts to break up a little bit down there. It's still pretty compacted. And the level of development is severe. This is not unusual for pecan orchards. It's one of the reasons why we have to rip them from time to time, given the combination of management. And the extent, it is extensive. It is throughout that pecan orchard.